Um, I don't know why I like doing it. I'm sure it's weird for people who are watching this after I went live. Um, my results. Before I react to basically everything that happened, um, I wasn't happy with my results, right? But I have some of the most incredible subscribers, and especially the people who watch my live predictions were like, dude, you saved me from wasting a lot of money because I didn't think there would be so many close fights, and that made me so happy to hear because I felt like, even though my breakdowns were good, my picks were not that great. Although, if you watched my live predictions, I actually told everyone who watched my live predictions as well as my upsets predictions, right? I actually told them to avoid the majority of the fights on that card. Let's go 303. I'm telling you always. Thank you, man. Jerick, Mark, thank you, man. So I was actually talking about my upsets predictions and my final predictions. And you're not the only person who's saying this. I was even surprised when people were contacting me. Thank you, man. A lot of people, which surprised me because I felt like why are people so being so supportive when like my predictions were not that great? But I realized now after watching it back that my breakdowns were extremely accurate, and the other thing that I didn't normally do was that I actually told people the fight and the fights that I felt confident about, and I got like two of the three fights that I actually said I felt confident about were almost correct. I think it's only Naimov who was winning that fight, and Lima just was just incredible on that night. But if you bet the for individually on all three fights that I was like I'm confident about these, you probably made profit from that. Um, so yeah, man. I watched my predictions back, my final predictions, and my live my upsets predictions basically, and it was incredible to see how accurate the breakdowns were. So yeah, I appreciate all the supportive messages that I got, but majority was from the live section of the channel. Other people, whenever you get a couple of fights wrong, the trolls come out. The trolls come out and play. From UFC 300 to UFC 301, UFC 302, like I've been doing exceptionally well. They were nowhere to be found. The moment I get like two cards wrong, and like they come out of the woods, and But anyway, let me get to the fights. Xiao Long versus Cheng Ho Lee. Maybe I'm salty. I mean, it's possible, but I feel like Long won this one. I think he won round one and two. I could be wrong. Maybe it's because I picked him, but that fight obviously was close. But I feel like Xiao Long won that fight. So I guess I was wrong. There was I don't know if I could say this was impressive, largely because it's hard to gauge because they were fighting each other and they are not necessarily experienced in the UFC, but they seem like good fighters. Just that there wasn't anything particularly impressive except maybe their cardio. Their cardio looked exceedingly it looked exceedingly impressive. Yeah, true. You did well, man. Thank you, Jerick. This is the first time I'm seeing you. It seems like you've been watching the lives without commenting, and I appreciate that. It's always good to know that there are people who are watching, even if they don't actually say anything in the comment section. It makes me happy. Um, and it's crazy. The most amount of support I got was from the last card. And even though but I guess it's the breakdowns anyway. um Cheng Ho Lee won this one. I still don't think he won, but like I always say, um I can't necessarily be mad if the fighter made the fight so close that it was up for grabs. So I'm not too mad at it. I'm just going to say that I feel like Xiao Long won this one. On to the next one. Magomed Gaziasulov versus Branderson Ribeiro. This is one of the fights when I was going through my upsets predictions, basically, that I was telling people I was confident about. I have a bad feeling that the Prohaska will win. Yeah, that one also. I think a lot of people should stay away from that fight. I'll break it down when I do my live predictions, my final predictions and my upsets predictions. There's a lot of fights that are going to be crazy to say the least. Just like this particular card, like a lot of people, there are a lot of fights that are more or less straightforward. I feel like there are going to be fights that are going to be a little bit more easy to predict on UFC 303. But the main event and potentially the co-main event might be a coin flip, but we'll get to it when I do my live predictions. So Magomed is one of the fighters that I said I felt confidently about. I just didn't expect it to be that close. Even though it wasn't incredibly close, I didn't think Magomed would have to wrestle. I thought he would have the advantage on the feet. But when I make my analysis, I take into consideration um, every single aspect of a fighter's game, because you don't know what they are preparing for. But if you know they have certain things in their arsenal, you should consider it. So, for example, right now, let me see. Jiro gonna be trying flying knees and the wall stuff early this time out. Yeah, 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 Alec. Which is highly possible. But you guys like that getting me off topic. But yeah, which is highly possible. I'll talk in length about that when I do my final predictions, which will probably be tomorrow or Wednesday latest. So, because I also have to do upsets predictions, so I'll try to make sure that the final predictions are a little bit early. Um, so yeah, where was I? So yeah, I didn't think Magomed would actually have to wrestle in order to win this fight. I thought he would have the advantage on the feet, but it's good to have like a variety of options when you get into the UFC. There was nothing particularly impressive about his performance, um, especially let me see. At it's light heavyweight. Okay, he was impressive. um, I mean, you are impressive depending on where you are impressive depending on the division that you fight in. I think I said something like this in one of my other predictions. Magomed's performance was impressive because it was at light heavyweight. Like if he also performed like that at heavyweight, it would still be impressive. But for example, at the divisions like welterweight or even middleweight to some extent, that would have been horrible. But you know what? I'll give him that. I didn't expect it to be that close, but this was one of the fights that I felt confidently about. My subscribers and I got this one right. On to the next one. Kyung Ho Kang versus Muin Gafurov. I think I also told a lot of people about this one. On my fence grabber, yeah, no, we're coming to that. Um, on my upsets predictions, right? I actually did point out that I felt a little bit confidently about this particular fight. However, Asian fighters tend to not live up to their potential for whatever reason. If an Asian fighter, like someone in the comment section said something like Asian fighters normally they normally perform like WMMA, right? Like for example, if ever you expect someone to actually perform in a specific way, they are going to most likely disappoint you. So who's in the fence grabber? Who's Richard? Dude, I'm not even speaking about only Chang Ho Lee. Like there are a couple of other fighters. I get what you mean, but there are a couple of other fighters who have performed exactly the same way, right? That I've picked in the past, who were supposed to get in there and actually dominate those particular fights, and they ended up not actually even doing that. So it's not even about a race thing; it's about them in general. Whenever there's an Asian fighter who's potentially supposed to dominate a fight, they normally come in there and then they underperform, right? So for me, from now on, I look at Asian fighters like female fighters. A female fighter can come in there with looking like in previous fights looking like the best fighter in the world, and then come in there and look like the most horrible fighter in there. So that was Ken Ho Lee. And I can say that because like a couple of other people had picked him, so I know I wasn't wrong. Um, but I guess I was wrong here. My subscribers went with Muin Gafurov. I unfortunately went with Kang Ho Kam, but I love the fact that I highlighted the fact that even though I was confident, I wouldn't put anything on it, right? Because I didn't trust him to actually get the win, and I was right. But yeah, on to the next one. Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Nicolas Dalby. Um, a lot of people are calling, or rather, are saying that the Dalby fraud checked Rinat Fakhretdinov, which is insane to me, because Dalby in his last fight actually derailed a hype train in one of the Bonfim brothers, right? So for anyone to say that he was derailed was insane too, because Nicholas Dalby is an incredibly difficult fighter to actually get rid of in the fight. So I also didn't expect this fight to actually be this competitive. I thought it would be a little bit more on the side of Rinat Fakhretdinov. I didn't think he would struggle as much. Nicholas Dalby is more durable than I anticipated. But this was one of my locks. I heard people saying, "Oh, Nicholas Dalby won." Man, like Rinat Fakhretdinov definitely won two rounds at least, right? So I think the right person won. I actually didn't think it would be this close, which just goes to show how crazy this card was, and that's why the fights that I said I feel confidently about in my predictions were only three fights that I said if I was going to put my money on any fights, it would be the three fights, and I wasn't too wrong because like out of those three fights, it was only one that was wrong. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how he performs against elite competition, or rather ranked competition, because I'm assuming that Rinat Fakhretdinov will have to fight. Um, who's in the comment section and swearing? Who the fuck are guys talking about? Anyway, so yeah, my subscribers and I went with Rinat Fakhretdinov. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how he performs against the ranked competition. On to the next one, Mohamed Naimov versus Felipe Lima. This one was crazy. Um, I actually was confident that Mohamed Naimov would actually win this one. However, I know where my mistake was, and I've highlighted it, and that would definitely never happen again. But it's largely because, and the mistake that happened is on the UFC's part, right? There are certain things that I analyzed, and it seems like the information that I had was incorrect, right? But as the channel grows, I'm going to make sure that I hire my own statistician. I hope I pronounced that properly, so that I can have a little bit more accurate information, because Yeah, the information I had was inaccurate, but nonetheless, Felipe Lima looked incredible in that particular fight. He looked like he should have been in the UFC for a very long time, and even though Naimov was actually winning that fight, I feel like Lima was like actually Naimov lost because of pressure. Like Lima was moving forward all the time, and he wasn't backing up, and that can get exhausting. You can't make any mistakes. So I feel like Naimov actually lost that fight largely because of cardio more than anything else, because I think he was winning that particular fight. And he didn't even do the right things in terms of grappling. Like he was trying to get up as opposed to actually fight the hands. Like, but I can also say it was probably because he was tired. But um, yeah, Lima performed exceptionally well. There's nothing much to say about that. So yeah, Lima won this one. We got this wrong, me and my subscribers. On to the next one. Nasrat Hakparast versus Jared Gordon. Um, this is another one that I told my subscribers just stay away from this fight. Just stay away from this one, and I'm glad I did that because this was incredibly close. Although I felt like Hakparast was landing the more cleaner shots, the more significant shots. But nonetheless, that fight was extremely close. Jared Gordon went in there trying to win. He was aggressive. He was pushing the pace. He was pressuring. Just that Hakparast was just slightly better. But yeah, man. Um, I enjoyed watching this fight. I don't know why people complain, but I think that this fight was really good. Okay, not really good, but it was good. My subscribers and I went with Nazrat Hakparast. On to the next one: Johnny Walker versus Volkan Uzdemir. Another fight that I told my subscribers to stay away from when I was doing my live predictions. I knew that even though we picked Johnny Walker, I don't know why. I, I honestly don't. After watching him perform like that, I think Johnny Walker does not have a chin problem. I think he's fighting in the wrong division. I think he will be able to take some punches if he moves up to heavyweight, because it seems like he cuts a significant amount of weight in order to make light heavyweight, which is crazy. Like, why don't you even perform at, or why don't you fight at heavyweight? There's not a lot of skill at heavyweight, and I think Johnny Walker would have a lot more success at heavyweight than at light heavyweight. I don't know why he doesn't just fight at heavyweight instead of just cutting so much weight. But yeah, Volkan Uzdemir, man, like just knocked this guy out. I wasn't expecting that, but that's what happened. um, but the nice thing is, I told my subscribers to stay away from this one because I knew it was a coin flip, and I was right. Anyway, on to the next one: Shara Magomedov versus Antonio Tricoli. Um, I thought Shara Magomedov would actually dominate a little bit more than he did. Hey, bro. Aviraj Awasti. No, I don't wanna. I sharp. I don't. I honestly don't wanna lie, my dude. I'm not sure. There are regular people. If you come on regularly, I'm sorry, but your name probably. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't recall. Anyway, people were complaining about Shara Magomedov grabbing the fence, which was horrible. But number one, I don't think it would have changed the fight. I don't think Antonio Trocoli is that good on the ground. Number two, I mean Trocoli was grabbing the fence in the first round. I think, yeah, in the first round, Trocoli, and even in the second round. I mean, Trocoli was. I mean, Raj, I'm sorry, man. Maybe it's because you're new, dude. Like, if you come on regularly, like maybe some of the people I also remember them because of um we talk in the comment section and all these type of things. I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry. I don't know. I'll make sure I remember you next time, man. I promise. Anyway, um I think also the height of Chokoli was a little bit of a problem for Shara Magomedov. Um, it seems as if his takedown defense was improved a little bit in this particular fight. Um, but I don't like the fact that it took him 3 rounds to actually finish that fight. Um, yeah, I mean, he looked good. There's nothing much to criticize except the fence grab. But I mean, Chokoli was doing it. The only difference is that Sharamagomedov's fence grab actually took away a position in a sense. But I felt like Chokoli was doing the same thing. He was keeping position by actually inserting his by inserting his fingers into the, what do you call it, into the fence. So I think they were more or less doing the same thing. One was using it to retain position, and the other one used it to change position. So I don't know why people are crying about Shara doing it, but they're not complaining about Chokoli doing it as well. Avaraji, I'm betting on Ray Payton Joe. Is this leg probably good because I want to play it safe? What's your suggestion for this? Um, my dude, I'm going to do live predictions. I'm going to do live predictions tomorrow. So it's kind of difficult for me to actually confirm if this is a safe parlay or not, because I have to do a little bit of a little bit more research before I go live. So that's the only time I'm going to be able to answer that question as to whether it's going to be a safe parlay or not. But for now, I think Peyton and Ray, from based on my analysis, from the shorts predictions that I did, I think those two are good picks. I think Joe Pfeiffer is a little bit risky. Like, there are probably a bit more safer fighters on the card. But I'll do the breakdown properly tomorrow or Wednesday latest. Um, so yeah, I think back to Sharamagomedov. I saw him, Bonico calling him out. Um, I mean, it's. I don't want to say it's an easy fight for Bonico, because Sharamagomedov is still early in his career. So I don't know. I don't know if I like that particular fight. I would prefer that Sharamagomedov gets a bit more grapplers, but not as experienced as Bo Nickel, because Bo Nickel is an elite grappler, right? So, and I don't think it's the right time for Sharamagomedov to actually be fighting Bo Nickel. The same way, I don't feel like it's the right time for Bo Nickel to be fighting Israel Adesanya, right? So I want both of them to be developed the right way. Can you give me only one confident fighter, please? Because dog prices are dropping. The only fighter I can think of right now is Peyton. I think Peyton is going to win. Right, that's the only fighter that comes to mind right now. Peyton Talbot is probably definitely gonna win. Um, but I always recommend to just wait for my final predictions so that I can tell you specifically who I'm extremely confident about. But if you want like a fighter at the top of my head who I can almost guarantee will win, is it's Peyton Talbot. That's the only fighter I think. Anyway, so I want Bo Nickel to have the same way I wouldn't want Bo Nickel to fight Israel Adesanya right now, or even Robert Whittaker right now. I wouldn't want Sharamagomedov to fight an elite wrestler right now. I think he should fight people like Chokoli, on the level of Chokoli in terms of grappling. That should be the kind of the level of wrestling that he faces. Maybe people like Gerald Mearshot, people who are good at wrestling, but they won't be like Hamza Chimaev. So, but if they make that fight, I mean, it's up to Sharamagomedov to improve, but I don't feel like he's going to be able to improve in such a short period of time. But I mean, it's the fighting game, and I mean, Sharamagomedov is popular. I'm sure that's why Bonico wants to get that win over him. Um, So yeah. Anyway, I don't know. He got a finish. Shara got a finish, but I expected him to dominate a little bit more, especially because Chokoli was coming in on short notice. But I can also give him the props to say Chokoli was a little bit taller than even I anticipated. So I think maybe I don't know if Chokoli is too tall for the division or if Sharamagomedov should be fighting at welterweight. But that's a decision he should make a little bit soon so that he doesn't fight for too long in the wrong division and end up, losing because he was in the wrong division. Anyway, my subscribers and I got this one correct. On to the next one. Calvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez. I feel a little bit salty about this one because I feel like maybe it's because I picked Daniel Rodriguez, but I think Rodriguez won round one and two. I could be wrong, but I think Rodriguez won round one and round two, right? And it also hurts a little bit more because Calvin Gastelum won because of wrestling, and he missed weight, right? So basically, he was using the weight that he missed to actually win the fight. I don't feel like I think that's the only round he won, round three, in my own opinion. The fight was close, but I felt like Daniel Rodriguez was landing a little bit more significantly. But it could be me being biased because I picked him. But irrespective, I feel like this is a win. In general, all my predictions except the Johnny Walker pick and the Ikram pick, I feel like all my predictions, even those that I got wrong, a lot of them were close fights. So I feel like even Rodriguez getting to a decision, a lot of the people in the comment section were like, "You're stupid, you're crazy. Like, how can you pick Rodriguez? Calvin is going to run through him." He didn't run through him. And I always tell the people who are watching that if you see me and my subscribers disagreeing on a prediction, just know that there's a high probability that it's going to be a close fight. The best thing to do is just to stay away from it. But I also told my subscriber, like anyone who was watching my live predictions and upsets, I also told them to stay away from this particular fight as well. Let me reply to Aviraj. Brother, can you make a video or can you suggest your confident pick in your live or next video? It's a humble request to you, buddy. Yeah, dude. I think maybe you should check my live section. You know what? Turn on your notifications so that you get an alert when I go live. I actually did that in the last final predictions and the last upsets predictions, right? I think anyone who was watching can attest to that, can confirm that I actually did this. I actually I did it in my upsets predictions. Yes, normally I do my final predictions. That's where I pick who's going to win. I also predict if there's going to be a finish or not, and a lot of the time, like I actually predicted them correctly. And then the upset predictions, that's where I finally give you like the picks that I feel extremely confidently about. But I did that in my previous live predictions, I think, something like that. Just go to the live section of the channel. I think you'll see everything there. So Daniel Rodriguez performed exceptionally well. It sucks that it happened at middleweight. I think he would have performed that fight would have looked a lot more different than it did if that fight was at the welterweight, because Rodriguez was cutting weight when Kelvin Gastelum was not. He was busy eating, and he informed the UFC that he wants to fight at 185, and that's what the UFC did. Like he didn't even try to cut weight. I don't know why, but he didn't even try to cut weight. Rodriguez was actually cutting weight when they told him that the fight would be at obviously through nutritionists and all those type of things. Um, they told him. I told you, Robert. Got it. I'm coming to it, man. I'm coming to Robert. I'm still talking about Rodriguez. So I feel like Rodriguez got robbed in a sense. Obviously, Rodriguez shouldn't have accepted the fight, but I mean, it was already 10 fights. It was already 11 fights on the card, so I mean, it would have affected the card significantly. Especially in June after so many pullouts. I understand why Rodriguez took the fight, but I think that fight looks differently at welterweight. Um, but anyway, people didn't expect Rodriguez to perform like this, and he actually showed up. And I actually think he won the first 2 rounds. But I could be wrong. Maybe it's because I picked him. My subscribers went with Kelvin Gastelum. On to the next one. Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. I would have been really proud of myself for predicting this one if my other predictions were as accurate, right? Um, I was happy, but I was sad at the same time. I was like, you know what? But I can't be too mad at myself because the fights were incredibly close, and I knew the fights would be close. So that's the one thing that I'm comforting myself with. It's the fact that the fights were close and my breakdowns were accurate. At least that's that. As far as the people who watch me live, I was able to help them avoid the dangerous fights in terms of predictions. Even though virtually almost every fight was close, I was able to help them avoid the fights that would actually cost them money. Um, this was one of them. I picked Volkov, and I remember saying I gave my reasons for picking Volkov, and I remember mentioning Tom Aspinall, and I remember saying that um, the reason I picked Tom Aspinall last year was the reason I picked Volkov. Sergey Pavlovich has never faced any good striker on his way up, and I knew that it would be a problem, especially facing someone who's that tall. Even if the reach was virtually the same, but he can use the height in order to extend his reach, which is basically what Volkov was doing. He was actually bending his knee in order to make sure that Sergey does not get past a certain point. And when Sergey was throwing, he was basically leaning backwards in order to avoid getting hit like clean. So normally those type of punches, those heavy punches would land on the shoulder, on the chest or something like that, but they wouldn't land cleanly, which is something I knew Volkov would do. I wasn't very confident because it's MMA and it depends on how a fighter was preparing in camp. But I knew that Alexander Volkov would actually win this one. But like I said, I'm not necessarily happy with this prediction, largely because I wish it was actually um, almost every predictions, like how I did on UFC 302. I would have been extremely happy. But normally, when I predict upsets, this is what happens. I can't celebrate it because there's something else that's preventing me. But anyway, I got this one correct. My subscribers went with Sergey. I went with Alexander Volkov. On to the next one, the main event of the evening: Robert Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov. My subscribers went with Robert Whittaker, and I went with Ikram Aliskerov. And I think I gave you my reasons. And even if I had another opportunity in the past, I think I would have made the same decision, right? But I also told my subscribers or anyone who was watching to stay away from this fight, largely because I felt like it could go either way, right? Clearly, I was wrong, but that's why I told people to stay away from it, because I knew that there was a possibility for Ikram to win on that particular fight because of the finishing ability. I mean, the last time Robert Whittaker got a finish was like in 2017. I didn't think this was the fight he was going to do it on, but I didn't take into consideration the fact that he was preparing for Hamza Chimaev. So the training camp was probably a lot more intense than his normal training camps. Um, so, I mean, congratulations to Robert Whittaker. To everyone, if you're new to the channel, man, just go through my final predictions and my upsets predictions. Right, they are probably some of the most accurate breakdowns you'll ever see. It was like I was watching the fights as I was breaking down the fights. The picks might not have been great, but the breakdowns were good. And even when I was predicting upsets, I actually always listened to me, man. Okay, cool, man. But I mean, what were your predictions when it comes to Sergey versus Alexander Volkov? I don't think you picked Alexander Volkov. I think you picked the Sergey. So, and the thing is, the difference is for me, like I have to do like a full card prediction. But the best thing I can do for anyone who watches me is to tell them the fights that I feel like will be close or I'm not so confident about. That's the best thing I can do. Like I'm not going to it's impossible for anyone in the world to be able to know exactly how every single fight is going to go. But the best thing that you can do is actually try and make sure that you 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 help the people who watch you minimize the amount of money they could potentially lose. Yeah, I guess they could potentially lose. So anyway, we'll talk. I have to go do something right now. Um, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Okay, but I'll see you tomorrow when I do my live predictions, my final predictions for UFC 303. If you're not subscribed, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Turn on your notifications because I go live spontaneously. I don't have a specific time, but lately, also I don't want to mention the time that I go live largely because people are watching me from different parts of the world. There are people who are watching from the United States predominantly. There are people from the UK. There are people from Russia. There are people from Brazil. So I don't want to mention the time because time zones are different. Just turn on your notifications and you'll get an alert when I go live. If I don't do it tomorrow, because I want to, I'm still torn as to whether I should do like a live video. I want to speak a little bit about Hamza Chimaev, but I'm still torn as to whether I should do it or not because I don't want to do live videos just for the hell of it. I want them to have some level of substance. And yeah, I'm still deciding. But probably most likely I might do it tomorrow. Um, yeah, I love and appreciate all of you. I work hard for all of you, and I'm glad to see that you guys appreciate it because I've never gotten so much support, despite the fact that I didn't do so well in terms of picks. But because of the breakdowns, because of the alert to avoid certain fights, a lot of people were telling me they could have lost so much money if I didn't do that live video. So that makes me feel a little bit better, and I'll continue to do that, and I'll continue to work hard to try and improve. But so far, it seems like everyone is enjoying what I'm doing. Love and appreciate all of you. See you tomorrow or Wednesday latest because I have to do also upsets predictions. So I have to do final predictions as soon as possible. Until we meet again, I love and appreciate all of you. Deuces.